This video is a response to Dalyxman's view on Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell, and how he talked about a lot of people didn't like the ending as well as the overall match itself and how they were disappointed by it. There are a few things that I do agree with him about, and I will say this. I do agree about Dean Ambrose and how Dean Ambrose was paying homage to Mick Foley when he climbed on top of the ring, when he climbed on top of the cell to try to start off the Hell in a Cell match, which I think was great because that was pretty much one of the best Hell in a Cell matches there were. Mankind versus Taker. That was one of the best ones. And I thought it was a great idea for Dean Ambrose to pay homage to that by starting off at the top. And I will say that I do agree about the Bray Wyatt character. I agree in how he's repackaged, and I do agree in how he's becoming pretty much the next Undertaker. And I like that how they fused the whole essence of Undertaker and then fused the current Bray Wyatt together and just make some huge, awesome, supernatural type character. I love that. I admire that. I think it's going to be awesome. But let's go into the things that I don't agree with you about. Number one, I don't agree that this is an Attitude Era type match. And the reason why I say it is this. If it was an Attitude Era, there will be no obstacles, there will be no interference, there will be no hindrance, there will be no nothing. Not to mention that there will be a huge battle bloodbath with every ounce of the cell being used from top to bottom, from the inside out, and anything in the ring will be considered a weapon. Not to mention that there will be, like I said before, no interference at all. In this match, the interference is what sucked the actual energy out of the match. It made it so long to where you just didn't care anymore when they came out because it took too long to try to get it together. And they just couldn't. With the Stooges going out there trying to stop Seth Rollins, it took so much out of the match. As well as the stretcher took way too much out of the match. And I could guess they probably did hurt themselves severely after jumping off at the halfway point of the cell. They probably hurt themselves really, really badly. But the thing is that the stretchers themselves, instead of them taking out, and I guess they were probably waiting for them to sit up and get up like what Mankind did, it just felt way too long. And it just sucked the energy right out of the match. And then you had Kane. That Kane pretty much came up for no apparent reason at all. Had no purpose, no rhyme of even being there. And he was just there, I guess, to stop the match. But he was really slowing the match down. And that was the biggest problem that I had personally with that match itself. Now I'm going to go into the ending. The reason why I disagree with the ending is the timing and the lack of closure. Back in the day, they actually did have closure to some of the matches. The feuds were so great and so much that they actually did find one big, either it was a Big Four pay-per-view or maybe another pay-per-view to where they actually would cap off the feud, but it would be capped off eventually. It will go on for months, but it'll eventually get capped off and they'll go in another direction. It should have ended here. It should have ended at Hell in a Cell. Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins have had some really great matches. Excellent matches. Great heat when it came to their feuds. Especially at FCW. One of the best feuds I have ever seen. But it should have ended here. It shouldn't be something as a continuous later on down the line. It should have ended at what made the Hell in a Cell great. And they did their best to pay homage to Taker and to Mankind. They should have ended it here at the best way possible, over the top beatdown, which was what was supposed to be expected for a Hell in a Cell match. Especially if you had Mick Foley in there promoting these two. You want to either make him proud or outshine him, and they didn't do it. They fell really, really short. Maybe they were afraid of going further, but they fell really short with the match. But besides all that, the worst thing is of actually taking one feud that is not closed and adding another one in there and somehow trying to make it work. I love Bray Wyatt. I love Bray Wyatt's new character, but it should not have been done that night. It should have been done the Raw. After Dean Ambrose beat Seth Rollins, it should have been there. And then somehow Bray Wyatt kind of hints his return and maybe go on from there. At least you would have capped off the feud between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose before it goes stale and before people become desensitized to it. It would have been great if they capped it off there. But instead, they fused Bray Wyatt in with Dean Ambrose while Dean Ambrose is still feuding with another guy. That's one of my biggest gripes. The last thing you want to do is take two great fighters in the ring, have their match pretty much to the pinnacle, and then only to bring it back later to where it becomes stale and nobody cares about it anymore. I don't want to get to that point. Bray Wyatt's character should have been introduced to the Raw after, and they should have had a really great epic match at Survivor Series, in my opinion. But this is absolutely no gripe towards you. You are entitled to your opinion. And I absolutely respect Dalyxman, as well as for him being a reviewer and a shooter. I have a lot of respect for him. This is no beef towards him at all. But this is just my overall response to what he said about pretty much. This is my overall response to his views on Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell.